Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It has been a minute since I've uploaded a new video here. To be honest with you guys, last year was sort of just a weird year for me. Nothing crazy happened, but it was just one of those times where you're really confused as to what God's doing in certain situations. But as I found is often true about times like that in our lives, whether they be confusing times or just difficult times, those are often also the times that we grow the most and that we learn so much about ourselves and about God. But I think that oftentimes the sort of realization of those things that we're learning doesn't come until we're coming out of those situations, because when we're in them it can just be really hard to see, and what we do see just doesn't make sense to us. But as we start to come out of it, that hindsight gives us the understanding to be able to recognize some of the things that we were learning and some of the ways that God was shaping us. And so with that being said, I have a lot of things that I've been learning that I'm excited to share with you guys. And if you are in any sort of situation that is similar to what I just described, maybe you're really confused as to what God is doing in some area of your life, or you ended up in an outcome that you totally were not expecting, or you are just waiting on God in some area of your life, the next couple of videos I have in mind to film are all sort of along the lines of those topics. And so if you haven't yet, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any of that. And I promise you, I will not keep you waiting as long for the next new video as I did this time. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into today's video. As you can tell from the title, today's video is all about asking God for answers and clarity. And this is for those times in your life when you just feel desperate for God to bring revelation, desperate for Him to give you clarity or to give you answers on a particular situation in your life. Maybe you are looking for God to tell you how He wants you to proceed in something, or you're looking for Him to tell you what He thinks about a situation or what He wants to happen in it. And you just feel like, until I get an answer from God, until I get some sort of clarity on this, I cannot move forward. And we just feel desperate for those answers. And so I was in one of those situations several months back, and every single morning I was just waking up and praying, God, show me what you want in this situation. Show me what you're doing here. Show me what you want to happen, because I'm just so confused. And I felt like those answers and that clarity was what I needed to move forward, and that I couldn't make certain decisions in my life until I had those answers, until I had that clarity from God. So it was sort of in this space that I stumbled across a verse in my Bible reading plan in Deuteronomy 29 that totally just blew my mind. Let me read it to you. It's Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 29. The secret things belong to the Lord our God, but the things that are revealed belong to us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. And so here's why that really stood out to me. For the past year or so, I believe, I've been using this Scribe Bible journal. If you want to know more about how I study the Bible, I actually did a whole video on that, so I'll link it below. But one of the things that it has you do is write down observations, interpretations, and one of the things that I've started to do since using it is to pick out certain words and look up the definition of them. And so as I read this verse, one of the words, or two of the words I looked up were belong and secret. And so belong said to be owned by or to be in the hands of. And secret said not known or seen, or not meant to be known or seen by others. And so if you kind of read that verse again with those definitions in mind, the verse says the secret things, the things that are not known or seen or meant to be known, the secret things belong to the Lord our God, but the revealed things belong to us. So when I read that verse with this in mind, it honestly just lifted this huge burden off of me, because here I was just begging God for clarity, begging God for answers, and I felt like that's what I needed to be able to move forward. And didn't He see that by not giving it to me, it was sort of holding me up? And so I just felt like I had to find some way to make Him give me these answers that I was seeking and this clarity that I was seeking, because that's truly what I needed. But this showed me that those answers I was praying for, that clarity I was praying for, that those were things that simply had not been revealed to me yet, that they were secret things, and because they were secret things and had not yet been revealed, that they didn't belong to me, but they actually belonged to God. I think the reason why this verse really just lifted such a heavy burden for me is that it didn't make me feel like those answers I was seeking didn't matter. It didn't make me feel like they were unimportant, but rather it just made me realize that they weren't my responsibility. It didn't make me feel like those answers weren't significant, real things that needed to get worked out in my life. it just showed me that they didn't need to get worked out by me, that was not a burden I needed to carry, but that burden was being carried. It was just being carried by God, because that's exactly what that verse is saying. It's saying that the secret things, the things that God has not yet made known to us about his will for our lives, that belongs to God. And again, that word belong says to be owned by or to be in the hands of, that God is carrying those things, but it doesn't belong to us. It belongs to him. But the things that are revealed belong to us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. And so reading this verse really just shifted my perspective, because as much as I still wanted clarity and as much as I still wanted answers, I had to trust that God was holding those things. The other thing I really love about this verse is that as much as it's sort of saying in one respect, you don't need to worry about this is not your responsibility, it does give us a different responsibility. And that different responsibility, that different thing that does belong to us, is what God already has revealed to us. And that the revealed things of God are what belong to us. Those are the things that are in our care, that are our responsibility. And so really what it's getting at is this idea of God's will. That God's will for us, there is sort of this secret will, that God has his plan for our lives that is being unveiled to us as we're taking different steps, but we don't get to see the whole thing at once. And I think that it's that secret will of God that oftentimes we're really trying to grasp at, that we're saying, God, what do you want me to do next? What do you think about this situation? What do you want for me here? And we're desperate for those answers. Those are the situations that we really want clarity in, that we want God's answers in. And so, but this verse is saying that there's this secret will, but that there's also this revealed will. And the secret will really doesn't belong to us, because until God has revealed something to us, there's really nothing we can do about it. But what God has revealed to us, that is what is our responsibility to be obedient to. And so what is God's revealed will? And God's revealed will is his word. God's word is full of things that we know are his will for us in a general sense. We know from the Bible that God's will for us is to do justice, to walk humbly, to love mercy. We know that his will for us is to think about whatever is true, whatever is pure, whatever is noble, whatever is lovely. We know that his will for us is to love him and to love others. And there's so much in the Bible that God has already revealed to us that is his will for us. And so this verse is telling us that those things that we're asking God to bring clarity on, that they belong to him. And until he's revealed them to us, we have to trust him to be working them out. But our responsibility in the meantime is to be obedient to the things that we already know he's called us to do. And so when I read this verse, I started to change what I was praying for in the morning. I was honestly still praying for clarity. I was still praying for answers in those particular situations, because I don't think it's wrong to be praying for those things, but I was also sort of adding a shifted focus to that. I was waking up and praying and saying, God, please bring clarity to this area of my life. Please show me what you want for it, because I'm really confused. But God, because you haven't in this moment given me that clarity, because you haven't in this moment revealed those answers to me, help me today, instead of focusing so much on those things, to simply be obedient to the things that I know you have revealed to me. One of the big ones for me that I was really focusing on, mainly just because it was really hard for me and not at all coming naturally, was 1 Thessalonians 5:17, which says, rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. And I think that honestly, sometimes when we're in a tough situation, when we're really just confused and feeling like we need God to give us answers, we need him to give us clarity, I think it's really easy to just sort of brush off verses like that, because we think, yeah, like rejoice, give thanks, but like I really just need to get this figured out. And once I get this figured out, I'll take care of commands like that, but like I really just need to have answers here. And honestly, that was my tendency. I was like, I get that that's like a verse and a thing that God commands us to do, but I really need to get this stuff figured out. And after reading this verse in Deuteronomy, it challenged me to be like, you know what? I don't have that stuff figured out. It hasn't been revealed to me yet, but what God has revealed to me is his will. And in this verse, it's telling me that his will for me is to rejoice always. Not when I have the clarity and the answers I need, not when things are going well. Rejoice always. To pray without ceasing, and to give thanks in all circumstances, not just the circumstances where I feel like I have the answers I need or when things are going well, but in all circumstances. And so my prayer shifted from one of, God, just show me what you want in this situation, to, okay, God, because you haven't shown me what you want in this situation yet, help me to be obedient to what you already have shown me. Help me to rejoice today. Help me to pray without ceasing today. Help me to give thanks today, even when that's the last thing I feel like doing. There was a quote that I came across as I was sort of thinking about all of this in a sermon I was listening to by Dr. Tony Evans, which, side note, I had never really listened to him before, but I just came across his stuff and it is so good. But anyways, I came across this quote in one of his sermons, and it says this: "You will never see what God plans in secret unless you're obeying what he's revealed in his word." Whoa. And so if you are in some situation where you are really just desperate for God to give you answers or clarity in something, I know that on some level this video is probably frustrating because you're like, I don't want to just accept that I don't know. I want to know. I need to know. But I hope that it could have at least been eye-opening for you, like it was for me, that instead of sort of driving yourself crazy and obsessing over trying to figure it out, that you can truly just find rest and freedom in recognizing and accepting that it simply hasn't been revealed to you yet. And that because it hasn't been revealed to you yet, that it's not your responsibility, that it is not your burden to carry, but that it is being carried, and that we can trust him. And that in the meantime, while we wait for him to make those things known to us, that our responsibility is to simply obey what he already has revealed to us. And so I hope this video is encouraging to you. If it was, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, let me know your thoughts down in the comments or any questions you have about this topic. I'd love to start a conversation with you down there. Other than that, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye! This thing won't turn off.